want to say any words? Thank you for coming.
Thank everybody for coming out.
Okay. So I'm happy to be here. First of all, I am Mobb is probably one of my favorite rap groups of all time. So getting a call and asking to be part of anything Prodigy is doing is my honor. And I love the concept of this book. When I first heard about that you were doing this, I thought, well, who wants to cook prison food? Who wants to eat that? And so that it immediately got my attention. And it's so well done, and it's like, I don't know, it just looks great. Just the look of it is really great. So I guess, Pete, the first thing I ask you is, why did you want to do this book?
Definitely to share my experience in prison when it came to the food, because of how I had to eat. I got sickle cell, so I had to eat a certain way, eat healthy, eat a lot of vegetables. So my experience with eating in jail was just like, it was bad. It was like terrible food, and it was like, it was real hard for me.
Bad like what? Like everything's processed, right? Everything's in the
Processed, just bad food. Prison chow, it just looks disgusting.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's bad for you. It's not good for you. So I had to prepare my own meals and learn how to prepare my own meals and learn what I could and couldn't get in jail and stuff like that.
I know you were saying that you couldn't get any vegetables.
Yeah, they didn't have green vegetables in
Yeah.
jail, so I had to actually get that sent in from the outside and the package every month. But that was the reason I wrote the book. Just to share my experience with food in jail.
Because it's really not just about the recipes too, right? Like it's about your experience with food.
Right.
During this time.
The recipes got stories that go with it.
Yeah.
Food in jail, it's a big problem. They need to do some prison reform as far as the food is concerned.
Right. Especially you would think that people who have, who are sick or who have special needs in terms of their diets or nutrition, like for you, dealing with sickle cell, are there special dietary needs that your doctor says that how you should eat?
I had to learn on my own about diet. The doctors and hospitals don't teach you that type of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I had to learn on my own to eat a lot of green vegetables, drink a lot of water.
And you see the difference, you feel the difference?
Yeah, 100% you feel it, you see it immediately. So, man, that's what it is. I just got to eat non-fried foods, a lot of green vegetables, a lot of water, just keep it real healthy as possible. Stay away from red meat type stuff.
Right. You do get a sense too from the book that there is there's a food culture in prison.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a trading system.
Yeah, definitely. 'Cause, number one, cooking in prison, it takes your mind off of where you at for a little while. You know what I mean? For the hour or two that you're cooking.
Makes you feel like normal.
You forget where you at for a minute. And that's always good, you know what I mean? And it passes time. You definitely you got so much time to kill, you want to pass time somehow. So it's a good way to pass time, get your mind off where you at. And it's also a good way to get along with the other inmates, because food can bring people together. Sometimes the inmates we would put in ingredients, I'll bring the rice, somebody else will bring the beans, somebody else will bring the fish, and we put our food together and make food for each other.
And break bread.
Break bread.
And there's a story too in the book about what's his name, Rasta or Dread?
Yeah, Rasta.
Yeah, and so this was an inmate that he tells the story of that he had a rape charge. So a lot of people didn't really talk to him while he was in prison. He kind of was left to the side, but you still learn from him, and he still found a way to kind of communicate with people.
Once everybody found out what he was locked up for, because we would usually find out what the inmates were locked up for, and that would determine whether we want to be cool with this person, talk to this person, and we found out he was in there for that, something crazy, so we kept our distance from him.
Yeah.
But he was a chef in the street. In the real world, he was a chef. You know what I mean? So it was
there was value in that.
We found that out. We seen him cooking. We was like, oh, you know how to cook? So we used to give him the food to cook for us. And he would cook and we would watch him. And then after a while, I just started learning. You know what I mean?
So what did you learn from him?
I learned how to make rasta pasta. I learned how to make a lot of curry sauce.
What is the rasta pasta?
Rasta pasta is you use elbow macaroni, or you could use spaghetti, any kind of pasta you want really. And you make this curry sauce, curry gravy, using the bean juice and the can of beans. Use the bean juice, a little bit of tomato sauce, a lot of curry, a lot of onions, and put some seafood in there. Or you can put chicken in there too.
That sounds not terrible.
Yeah, nah, it's good.
I would like to, full disclosure, say that today I tried one of the recipes. Later, he told me that it was the worst recipe in the book. And it's called, what is it called? The peas don't try this?
Yeah, don't try this at home.
And of course, that's the one I wanted to try. It wasn't my favorite, but it did give me a sense, I can't lie, like eating that, it gave me a sense and understanding what that must feel like. Because he talked about, like, on his first day in prison, having to eat that. Coming from outside, eating at like fine restaurants, and then your first day in prison, this is what you...
Yeah, my first day in Rikers Island, I had this meal that they make with ramen noodles. They use Doritos for cheese sauce. And
You understand what that means?
And they use Jack Mac.
It's not just the Doritos, because I thought maybe this Doritos was for the crunch. No. He showed me how they do it today. The Doritos is, you have to crush the bag so crazy, there's no chip. It's just the seasoning of the Dorito. So it becomes like a seasoning powder, right?
Right, it turns into sauce once you mix it with water.
If you mix it with hot water, it becomes like a cheese Dorito sauce. On the ramen noodles, little hot sauce, tuna for protein.
And that's a Rikers Island special right there.
Yeah, right. It was a new experience for me today. I experienced that. So, Kathy, what got you involved and what made you feel connected to working on this project with me?
Well, I've been interviewing artists for about 15 years now, and over the years...
A lot of artists that just had come out of prison, too, yeah?
Yeah, I somehow I get them first when they get out of prison, but I spoke with P right when he got out, and then, you know, around the time of My Infamous Life, his first book, and then a few years later, we had met up again for another interview, and a friend of his brought a catalog from, you know, what to order when you're in prison, and we were just looking through it, and we were having this conversation.
So it's the actual catalog that you pick from when you're in there? Like,
yes, you get like prison catalogs that you can order food and music and like clothes.
It's all bootleg stuff too, like, so they'll be like Jordans, but not really, like Lordans. So, you know, we were looking through this catalog and we were looking at the food, and I was like, this is all in a can and a bag, and we just got into this conversation. So about a year later, you know, he and his people reached out and they said, you know, we're thinking of doing this cookbook and how to, you know, put this together. So, you know, P and I discussed it, we threw around some ideas, and he just had...
Wow.
Hi.
That's the fly from the debate.
Yeah, really is today, you know?
Special guest.
He had so many of these like crazy stories in addition to his recipes, and the crazier the story, there was like always a meal attached to it. So we just sewed them all together, and here we are.
Wow. And then so what, because, you know, even trying that meal and reading some of the stories gave me really a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly not a real sense. I can't imagine what spending 3 years in prison feels like. But I don't know, there was something about, even after all the stories I've heard and people I know who've been locked up, there is something about the food, that element of it, that I had never really thought about or experienced. So it was like a different sense of the experience.
Wow,
yeah. By the way, the aprons that he had made for this that's like amazing merch. You need to sell those or
No
something.
such thing as halfway cooks.
Yes, the camel apron, the cooked apron is so good. So anyway, so I say that to say, was there anything that you learned from this process about how things work inside and the challenges and?
Well, there were a lot of things that we discussed when we were talking about just what, you know, he had gone through. I mean, the first day he went to the infirmary from Prison Surprise, but there was one story in particular that stood out to me, because if you look on the cover, there's a sweet potato pie recipe. And the interesting...
You would eat that, yeah?
You would, right? Well, not after you hear the story. So the thing was, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, so in the common area there's a bathroom, and right outside of the bathroom is the sink. So P and all of his friends would sit there, and right there is the oven, toaster oven. We had toaster oven, microwave,
Right.
And that's it.
Right outside the bathroom.
Right outside the bathroom. So P and all his friends would look and make sure that whoever got out of the bathroom would wash their hands. And if they didn't wash their hands, you'd call them out, and you'd be like, you're disgusting. So what happened?
So you're like the clean hand, please?
There's nothing else to do. We're just watching everybody. Like, you ain't wash your hands, son. Back in that bathroom, you don't wash your hands.
So the one interesting thing was there was someone in the prison. We call her Shakira in the book, but she was actually named after another star who was a friend of P's. So the interesting thing is you watch Orange is the New Black and you see Laverne Cox's character who's transgender and she's in the women's prison. When P was in there, transgender inmates had to go by their birth certificate gender. So he had transgender women in the men's prison.
Wow.
So, like, shout out to Shakira, who came and wanted to make everyone a sweet potato pie. So Shakira goes into the bathroom, and they're all watching, gets out, and walks right up to the cooking station. So they watch her, like, grind up all of the graham crackers and mash it down, put the sweet potato pie, in the sweet potato mix, put it in the toaster oven.
No hands clean.
No hands clean. Goes to serve it to everyone, and they're like, we're not eating that. You didn't wash your hands. She wasn't happy with
Be
it.
honest. Nobody ate the pie?
Nobody ate. Nah, a couple of people did.
Couple people totally ate the pie.
It wasn't not a group of people though.
It's called Shakira's Dirty Pie.
But it actually looked really good. Like, you know what I mean?
You were mad that you didn't wash your hands.
Yeah, we couldn't eat that one. But we made another one later. We ate it though.
And then you got the recipe. So she shared the recipe.
Yeah, she showed
Did
us
you-
how to. Watch her do it. Watch
Did you
her.
have to reach out to anybody? Or did you let anybody know that you were going to use some of the recipes in the book? Or?
Nah, probably like the dude, the chief of police that I was locked up with.
Yeah.
I told him I was doing some books and I was gonna do probably share some of the things we were making in
You didn't want no problems there.
there.
That was a cool story too, though, because he he made a whole antipasto, which is like, you know, with the cold cuts and the olives and all that other stuff for Thanksgiving. And because he would import like what pounds of like
Yeah,
meats
he had
and
like a lot of
cheeses.
meats and cheeses and like for Thanksgiving, he would do it big.
Yeah.
Make this big antipasti. And I never saw nobody make that before. It was like a gingerbread house. It was like all meats and cheeses stacked up and lined up. It was crazy. It was good though.
So aside from like wanting to start the conversation about you know, the human rights of prisoners and their right to just decent, healthy food, which I know you said is one of your reasons for wanting to write this book. What is the other side? Like, who do you expect? Who is going to make these recipes, or who do you want to make these recipes? And are they good enough for like everyday eating?
Well, definitely, first off, one of my favorite recipes in the book is barbecue salmon over rice. And my kids ask me to make it for them all the time.
You make it now.
So it's really good.
It doesn't bother you that you ate it in prison? Doesn't
Nah,
make that any
'cause
weird?
in prison, in the book, we use a lot of canned food. That's all they had was cans.
Right.
But you can take those same recipes and apply it to stuff you can buy in the supermarket. You get fresh fish, you get fresh, you know, whatever ingredients you want.
Right.
Substitute the butter for olive oil if you want to be healthier. We didn't have that choice. You know what I mean?
No olive oil.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So we had to use what we had.
Right.
But I think that a lot of college students will get a lot out of this book because it's like dormitory style food recipes. Like, everything in there is from a microwave toaster oven. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of college students will definitely understand that and get a lot out of that.
Yeah. Also, probably a good gift for someone who may be away.
Yeah, because
Something to send someone inside.
it would teach them how. It would definitely teach them how to use the tools in jail to make food.
Did you think about people inside when you wrote this?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing in jail. We like when books come in. You know, the library is a big thing, man. Because we read a lot in there. So when books come in like this, they'll eat that up in jail. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what are the best? I know Rasta told you a few things, but what are some of the best tips that you learned in prison in terms of like cooking?
Just, you know, don't be afraid to try different things, like mixing different ingredients together. I learned that, you know, like for example, what I just said about the bean juice and mixing them with a little bit of tomato sauce, you can make your own gravy, like, you know, and just add in little different seasonings.
Like the canned juice, like the water in the can?
Yeah, the water from the beans.
Huh.
That's how the people make gravy in there, you know? And it tastes just like gravy, like, you know what I mean?
You still do this, don't you?
I do it often, man.
Is there anything else like from that time? Because you've been out like 6 years now, right? Do you feel like fully back adjusted, or are there things that you still hold with you from that time?
I'll definitely still hold, you know, the experience of having my life and career and family just snatched from you now in the cell. And, you know, it made me appreciate, you know, being out here in the world and just appreciate everything. My family, my career, you know, my health, just people, friends, you know what I mean? It makes me appreciate my freedom. You know, so I carry that, I think about that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because I had it taken away from me. I know what it feels like. It's not cool at all, you know?
Did you do a lot of reading in prison?
Yeah, I read a lot of books, doing a lot of writing, you know, but definitely read a lot of books about like, you know, different things, business, marketing, a lot of religious books, a lot of self-help books, just different styles of writing and, you know, just learning different things, because I had all the time.
Yeah.
So that was the best time to really educate myself and read a lot.
For those of you who don't know, this is actually his 6th book.
Yeah.
At this point, he's self-published some other writers' novels and then his own autobiography.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that after this there'll be more?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely a lot more. I signed a few authors so far. We put out some novellas, and the novellas, they're like 100-page, you know, fiction stories. And I wanted to do that because I got inspired from Donald Goines, and he makes these little fiction novellas that's like 100 pages. And when I seen Donald Goines books, it made me want to read because it's like an easy read. You know, you pick it up real quick, read it. It's a dope story. And I feel that, you know, that inspires somebody that might not read a lot. They'll be quicker to pick up a 100-page book and read it because it's not so big and intimidating, like, you know.
Right.
So I wanted to do that on my own. So that's what we did. We've been dropping novellas to some authors and whatnot that we signed to the company.
There's a story in here about a CO who was eating your food.
Oh, man.
Why would Little Pun do that, and why did you call him Little Pun?
All right, so there was a CEO, there was a correction officer, and then we nicknamed him Little Pun because he was a short dude and he looked just like Pun. He was real big.
Did you nickname him that or somebody else inside?
I think I nicknamed
It's
him.
probably sound like you did.
Yeah, I nicknamed him that, and he used to come in, I think like twice a week or something like that. We had him because it's usually a different CEO every day. So twice a week we would have Little Pun, and one day out the week we would get baked chicken, and he would love that day. Now, this is a correction officer that works here.
So he could go home and eat whatever he
can
wants.
Food out in the street, he can eat anything he wants out in the street. He's coming into prison happy because we had the baked chicken in the prison time.
But he had it for you since day one, though. That's the problem when you're an artist in prison. It's 50-50. You either have like fans who are really good to you, or you just have straight haters. When Pete got there, he went to go hang out in the common area. A Little Pun was like, "This isn't a hotel. This isn't a 5-star hotel. Get back in your
he tried to scream on me. He's like, where you think you at? You think you at the Marriott? Get back in your cell. Like my first day in there.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like a real, you know, a-hole. But you know, he used to call him Little Pun. He used to be happy on chicken day, and then you know the inmates, we try to get little extras, whatever's left over. You know, we try to let me get an extra piece. Let me get an extra piece after everybody ate. If there's extras, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Nah, not on chicken day. Little Pun taking all that. Like, you know what I mean? He's taking all the extras. Like, how could you do that? That's foul.
You got his waffles, though. Remember you broke into
Yeah, we broke into the CO refrigerator one night and stole his food.
blueberry waffles.
And nobody got caught.
Nah, we didn't get caught. We unscrewed the refrigerator from the hinges.
Oh my God.
And we told he had like Eggo waffles. He had some like venison sausage, some homemade venison sausage.
It was a party.
Yeah,
It was Thanksgiving.
Party. We had iced teas, all that. We took all his food.
That's
He
crazy.
thought one of the other COs did it, so he was arguing with them.
So Kathy, I know we kind of touched on this briefly before, but we were saying like you interviewed like Remy when she first came out.
Remy, Lucy, Tip, T.I., Prodigy. Yeah, a lot of them right when they came out.
Do you hear some of the similar struggles, like talking to different artists?
Absolutely. I mean, they're in a very different mindset as soon as they get out. I mean, there's this clarity that a lot of artists don't have when they're just on the outside all the time. So in speaking with them right at that point, you hear that 50-50 struggle. I mean, there are artists who go in there. It's not like with Hollywood actors who go in and they get their own little loft in the corner of a prison and they're not touched. You know, you have, if there's a hater, there's a hater. I mean, there was one story, I was interviewing an artist and he was telling me how every time somebody would do something like to him and try to choke him up and handcuff him, they would have their phone and basically like taking selfies, like look at me, look at what I'm doing to my favorite artist. And you know, I think it's interesting because he was lucky he had a lot of fans in there too, and he had friends on the outside. They poisoned him the first day, but he had some good people. But I mean, Little Pun is just one example.
And in turn, he tried to poison me today. But Caroline.
Yeah, but you know, when fans are there, and that could be a CO, but that could also be an inmate. You know, so we didn't even talk about this, but I can't even imagine how many people tried to slip you a mixtape in there.
Everybody was a rapper, everybody had a cousin that rapped, everybody did something in there. They were trying to connect on the outside, definitely.
Yeah. But were you known inside as the guy like who could make these recipes and cook? Like, were people aware of this talent of yours?
In my dorm, in my particular dorm where we were at, it was like maybe up to like 40 inmates.
Yeah.
I was known for the guy that gets all the vegetables every month.
You were the vegetable guy.
Yeah.
This is not what I would imagine when I think of like Mobb, Deep, Prodigy. He's like the vegetable guy for jail. That's not what I would have imagined.
I was the only, like, you get 35 pounds in your family every month, and I was the only one getting 35 pounds of canned green vegetables. But they ain't had that in there, so that's how I had to eat, you know, to stay healthy. So.
Right. And you're not allowed fresh food? No fresh food is allowed in?
Nah, you gotta have like stuff in the can, pre-packaged, like you gotta be pre-cooked, nothing raw, because we don't have no refrigerators in there.
Wow.
But
so even the vegetables, they're not.
Nah, the vegetables would come in the can. It was like, you know, it's the best that you can do. It's like, you know what I mean? You gotta just whatever you can get, the best that you can get. You know what I mean?
Wow. And so you get all vegetables.
Yeah, I would get all vegetables in my package. So I had a big bag full of vegetables always coming back to the dorm. Everybody else had Twinkies and Oreos.
So nobody was ever gonna rob you because nobody was gonna stash.
But like most of the time when it was time for me to leave, after I spent a lot of time in there, a lot of the inmates, a few of the inmates was like, yo man, thank you, you helped me change my diet. Like, you
really?
Yeah, you made me want to eat healthier. Like, so I definitely helped a few people.
Let's go.
Change it.
Do you have some of those vegetables in some of these recipes?
Yeah, I think the salmon got mixed vegetables with it. There's a few recipes.
Oh, the pot stickers, the pea.
Yeah, there's a few recipes in there with the
You used to have to rinse them off too because they were all packed with sodium like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Peas, prison pot stickers, Rasta pasta.
Shit I ate all the time.
There's something called shit I eat all the time. Peas, ramen seasoning. Yes. Hot ass buffalo sauce. These are all things you can dine on in the comfort of your own home. You don't even have to be locked up to have the experience.
Some pretty good stuff in there.
So, Kathy, have you tried the recipes? I know you helped with the stories. But.
Well, you know, P, when he first got out of prison, the first thing that he made his son was the macaroni salad. And, you know, he told me that story how the Rasta handed him an apple while he was making the salad, and that's what he adds to it. But I'm allergic to apples, but I added olives to this piece of the olives, so that's one of the recipes that I tried. And tried a couple of the ones in the back, and yeah.
That's the section you're not supposed to try.
I know, but I mean, really, who's not gonna try? Who's not gonna at least be like, all right, let me try this chi-chi. I didn't like wrap it in a shirt and all that other stuff.
There's a section in the book where it's called shit that I didn't eat, but you might want to try.
Yeah. What's at the end? Good luck.
And that's the section I went right to today. So we got peas, clean hands, sweet potato pie. I went to peas, don't try this at home, prison surprise. That's the one I had. And at the end of it, it's very easy, by the way. It's like a 2-second, like you can do this in 2 minutes in your house. But at the end it says, you throw in the cheese sauce, which is, by the way, the crushed up Doritos. You throw in the Jack Mac, and then you eat it. And then it says, good luck, y'all. I've never made a recipe that had to be wish luck. That's what he eats. So I should have known from there.
Be careful with that section in the book, right?
Yeah. It's dangerous.
But this is actually the first meal you said you had, right?
Yeah, that's the first one I had in Rikers Island. Yeah.
Wow.
Dangerous stuff.
We talked about this a little bit earlier on the air, but so you show up at Rikers Island day one. You're probably used to, because what were you eating before you went away?
Man, I was eating really good. You know, good restaurants, Italian restaurants, Korean barbecue restaurants,
Yeah.
real good food. Like,
5-star joints?
yeah, we were traveling on tour around the world eating pretty good, you know.
And then you show up,
And we
day
were
one.
down, like, oh my God, I gotta eat this stuff now. So it was definitely a big difference, and my stomach had to get used to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, my first day in Rikers, I see a couple of homies that I know from Queens. They was like, yo, Pete, what up, man? We about to cook something. I'm like, yo, what y'all about to make? They're like, yo, this dish we be making is use ramen, Doritos. Let me show you how to make it. So they sitting there showing me. I'm like, all right, this doesn't look too good, but I'm kind of hungry. I'm gonna try it. So I eat it. Maybe like 2 hours later, I'm sweating bullets, nauseous. I had to go to the infirmary in Rikers Island.
First day?
Yeah, it made me sick.
Wow.
They gave me like stomach poisoning or something. I think it was maybe like.
They tried to kill you day one.
Yeah, man, you know what I mean? That's what inspired me to want to prepare my own food after that. I'm
Yeah.
not letting nobody else cook for me after this.
And that's why you were watching to see if people were washing their hands after that. You were terrified,
Yeah,
traumatized.
yeah, be careful.
Did it get easier as the time went on?
Yeah, it definitely got easier. I mean, as far as like eating and, just being more comfortable where I was at, you know, it definitely got easier to get used to it. But the food in there is bad, man. It's a bad problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually the biggest prison strike in U.S. history is going on right now. That a lot of people might not even know about or heard about. But that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's because of the food and it's because of the conditions in prison. The prisoners on strike. They're refusing to eat, they're refusing to work, they want to get paid more money, you know what I mean? So it's like 20 to 25 prisons across America right now. That's
Wow.
happening. You know what I mean?
I know there's a fight going on too to try to get Rikers Island actually shut down.
Yeah, I heard about that too, yeah.
I would imagine that you have some feelings about that.
Yeah, I mean, Rikers is a wild place. It's a wild place, and you know, the COs is down with the inmates. A lot of the COs is from the hood, you know, so they let a lot of things slide. You know what I mean? They let a lot of fights happen. There's a lot of things going on in there.
And that doesn't fix anybody. It doesn't help anybody rehabilitate their lives or change their lives around or anything like that.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Like, it's kind of unruly in there.
Yeah.
Definitely unruly in there.
Yeah, they say it makes it actually worse. It makes a bad situation worse a lot of times.
Being in the prison upstate, because Rikers is a county jail. So when they send you upstate, it turns more like the military. You know, they got like a military way of thinking of upstate in prison. But Rikers is more like you in the hood. You know, Brooklyn, Queens, like you're saying, everybody's from the hood. You recognize everybody. You recognize COs. A lot of the female COs, they selling their body.
Inside?
Yeah, they get pregnant by inmates. There's a lot of that happening.
Wow.
They money grab the money.
For what?
They money grab the money.
You mentioned it, right? In the book, you tell a story, or you kind of mentioned it.
Yeah.
You touch on it a little bit.
Well, shout out to Officer Butts. She had a good heart. But Officer Butts did steal some extra.
Yeah, she came. There was this officer in Rikers Island. She called me out the dorm one day, and she reached in her pocket, and she had like 2 pieces of chicken in her pocket, wrapped up in paper towel. She was like, "Hey, I got you some extra chicken." I was like, "Wow."
But she was showing you some text and photos and stuff.
Yeah, she was showing me like pictures of her and her friends at the beach and stuff like that.
That's how they woo you in prison. Here's some chicken. That's love.
What about the girl who used to send you photos of her shooting rhinoceros? And
Oh yeah.
he messed up his connect. Her parents owned like a big publishing house, and she was a fan of Peas, and she sent him a lot of stuff. Like he would get fruit cups and all this other stuff and clothing. And one day he sent her a picture of what was it, Gucci watch?
Yeah, I started getting greedy. She was like, "Just send me what you want. I'll get you whatever you want." I said I circled the Gucci watch. I was like,
How'd that go?
"Get that." She never hit me back after that.
Greedy.
I got greedy in there.
Because you got greedy. So I know, Pete, you think, what do you ultimately want this book to mean in the world, like out here?
I definitely just want the book to, wake people up to see how the food is in prison and, just to share my experience in prison. But hopefully, this will help get a little bit closer to a little bit of reform as far as the food in there. And, just so people can have more of a understanding of, inmates and prison life and, so you're not because it's a big disconnect between people in the world and people that's locked up, like out of sight, out of mind. Like, a lot of people don't know what's going on in there. So it gives you a little insight to what's happening in there, and yeah, it just brings awareness to, like, health and food.
Right. And what about for you, as part of this? What do you?
I think it's just to bring a greater awareness of what's actually going on, and also to like humanize the prison experience. A lot of times, in prison food, there's rat poisoning and glass. I mean, he talks about, he had found pubic hair in his prison food, and I feel like a lot of times people just assume that just because you're in prison, you should eat anything because, if you're in there, you did something wrong, and while that may be true, that doesn't mean that you deserve to not have access to nutrition and have access to quality food. I mean, so many people who get out of prison have diabetes, have hypertension, have all these problems, and they never know why. I mean, there's a thing called prison tea, and it's basically taking the ramen packets and pouring hot water in them and drinking it throughout the day because, one thing that I learned in the book is there was only 3 actual feeding times, which was 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and 4 p.m. And after that, you're done. So if you don't have any money in the commissary, I mean, that's how those prison meals originated in the back. Because if you only have like $5 in your commissary, what are you buying? You're buying a bag of chips, you're buying ramen noodles, and then you're adding hot water, mashing it up, and eating it.
Right.
So I think the biggest takeaway from the book is just to humanize that experience. I mean, people in prison are not animals; they're human beings, and they should have access to actual food and not broken glass and pubic hair and expired cans. That's another thing. A lot of the food was expired.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking. And I just want, on a side note, it's like beautiful. I don't know who did the artwork, but the photos are lovely, or how much you had to do with that, like the actual visual packaging of it is really nice.
I wanted it to be deliciously grotesque.
It is, it's really well done. Like the artwork of it, the design, I think is super dope. So congratulations, well done, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. I believe we're going to have some time for some Q&A. Am I coming now? Is that okay? I don't want to break any rules here. Okay.
What's up?
What's up, brother? What was your favorite Mobb Deep album, and y'all gonna do another album?
Man, it's hard to pick a favorite, but off top, the Infamous, and yeah, we're definitely working on new music.
That's what's up.
What's up, man? Yeah, question. What's up?
Yeah, I want to thank you that at least one little thing I think the reason that at least don't love that inmates eat at regular intervals. Inmates eat at regular intervals, which is basically good for health. And other stuff, of course.
You're saying they should eat at regular intervals, or people think that they do?
No, as far as I understand, in prison, people have regular hours to eat food,
Yeah.
which is basically good for health. Other stuff, of course, that people at least can appreciate the fact that they can buy fresh vegetables and not to eat junk food that they buy in the market.
Right.
So that was a very good positive side of the food.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it definitely is.
Go ahead, Mom.
I want to thank you. My brother just did a 10-year bid, and as I looked through the book earlier, I saw a lot of the recipes that he, you got in the book.
Right.
He did a 10-year bid in a foreign prison.
Wow.
They got a meal once a day.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Once a day, and everything that he ate was basically what the inmates put together. So
Right.
it's a family. To this day, my parents still live over there. They still visit some of those inmates because, like, we sent the canned food. We sent, so this is really dope. I think
Yeah.
that, like, I'm gonna have you dedicate this to him because just coming out is emotional for him. He doesn't think people understand. Like
Right.
she said, it brings a humanity.
Right.
To sit in a prison for 10 years. And,
Yeah, it definitely.
I saw your recipe. He used Fritos, he said. Because I
Fritos.
did that on the phone with him. But he said, nah, we use ramen and Fritos. So,
Right.
and they didn't have microwaves. They had a water cooker. So if they would bring a steak in, he would have to cook that steak in the water. I've never had that.
That's like Rikers Island. They got
Yeah.
the water cookers.
The water cookers. That's
Right.
what he lived over for 10 years. So I think he's
Wow.
I think that's
Wow, that's what's up. Tell him I said what's up. Yeah, cooking food in there definitely was like a way to get our mind on where we was at for a little while, plus for people to come together and, you know, it calms people down a little bit, you know, we all get to sit around and talk, get to know each other, you know.
It was a family.
Yeah,
He said
exactly.
that was the closest thing to a family he had. Like,
Right.
we would only see him once every 3 months for an hour.
Wow.
You know, so for him to sit down and have a meal every day was huge.
Right.
You know, they got potatoes, they got, like, it was for, you know, Germany, they're more conscious of food and health, but he was an American and a foreign prisoner.
Right.
It's not a good look, so.
Wow.
Wow, once a day.
Once a day, yeah, one hot meal, and it would be stale bread and,
Wow.
some soup, and you figure out the rest of it.
Wow.
So if he wasn't bringing it in, or sending it in, he wasn't getting it.
Imagine how that book though affects not just your brother, but like anybody who spent that time and had those experiences. For somebody to even voice
Memories.
that for them, that you're like, you're not the only person out there who's had that experience and actually can come out and tell your story and be relatable is pretty special.
Yeah, I think he's gonna really appreciate it.
That's what's up.
So, there was one over here. Wait.
Peace. I come from a military school, so
Right.
that's not, you know, get yammed up in the clink. I never had to wash the core craft out of my eyes, any of that, but it's still a very much institutionalized setting. And there's a mess hall there, you know, it's 180 of us, and our whole process there, you know, I came from art design myself, and just everything in there, especially being a city kid down in Virginia, just being on that routine, that whole, just the whole grind of it.
Right.
What meals were, it was centered around, it was a certain uniformity. You know, they always break down and really compartmentalize everything, but the one binding aspect of it was food. You know, 3 hots in a cot, that's the whole principle of it. And I found my own hustles and just especially working mess hall, you know, paying, sneaking loaves of bread in my pants and passing that off to Pablo for $5. You know, trading 2 cigarettes, what have you.
Right.
But just getting, it's still just the food. It was some shit, just straight up and down. It was what it was. But just having that, the comfort associated with it, my transition out of it, it was just even how I ate so fast, you know, because we only had like 20 minutes to eat. So just already just the foods I was eating, how I was eating everything else, it was already a transition, especially just out of the whole thing. So what was really your way to translate some of the positive things you learned and just everything that you applied and how you escalated and
How you made the
better yourself
transition?
inside when you got out without having the militant mindset and just that imprisoned mindset, because that's been a huge part of my transition.
That is a
personally.
long question.
I'm trying to understand. What's the exact question?
What was the main, what was the main component that you kept your mind on just for transitioning out when you, especially when it comes to this food, like
Right.
separating the mentality from the substance?
Just, you know, the transition, it was kind of weird, you know what I mean? I had to get used to it. But, you know, when I came home, I just took the same things we were doing in there and just tried to eat fresher, like have fresher food, like, you know what I mean? That was my transition. It was, I found myself still using the can top and like catching myself, like, okay, why am I using the can top? I got a knife. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, you know,
Do you still do that?
it took me a while to get used to it, but I got used to it, you know.
But you hit the ground running. You told me earlier that as soon as you got out of prison, you were like, you wanted to go directly to like a great restaurant, have a great meal.
Yeah, I definitely went straight from the jail to a restaurant. Like, you know what I mean? I couldn't wait till I could eat some real out in the world food. Like, I was thinking about it every day.
Do you remember when you ate?
Yeah, I had Korean barbecue.
Sounds amazing.
Ulayoke.
Word.
Any other questions?
Speaking on like a family situation in the jail or whatever, when you were making the food, like could people smell it and come running like, oh shit, they're making pasta pie or whatever?
Yeah.
Like family, like did everybody come running when you guys were making the food?
Yeah, definitely, you know, it would make the whole dome, you know, smell like whatever he was cooking. A lot of the times, the correction officers would come up like, yo, that stinks. The hell y'all making it stink? Like they was hating, like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't like the smell of fish though, cooking, like, you know what I mean? So they would like hate that smell when they came in. They were like, I smell it all the way downstairs from outside. Stop cooking it in here. Like, they would be mad, like, you know?
I think we have time for a couple more, and then he's gonna start the signing.
Yo, have you talked to Thurston Howard III? He's a MC from Brooklyn. He has a whole prison recipe on YouTube that he does. I don't know if you swap recipes or anything like that.
Nah, I spoke to him though. I actually did a song with him a few months ago.
Okay.
But nah, we never spoke about like the prison cooking and nothing like that. We didn't even have that conversation at all.
Yeah, check it out. It's all on YouTube.
I heard about it. I'm gonna check it out.
Back?
I think you mentioned that you was locked up with the chief of police. How was that experience?
He had a crazy story, man. You know, it was just crazy. A lot of the inmates that I was in, the particular building I was in, was involuntary protective custody. So it was like you have to have a court order to be in this particular building. Like you can't be. It's not like a building where, oh, I'm scared the blood is gonna get me or put me in PC. Like you wouldn't be allowed in our building. Our building was like high-profile cases. So I was locked up with a lot of DAs. I was locked up with a lot of detectives, cops. They got locked up for drunk driving, vehicular homicide. I was locked up with this billionaire dude, you know what I mean? He got locked up for some like embezzling millions of dollars things. I was locked up with a judge. He was like 70 years old, family court judge that was taking money. You know, if you wanted to keep custody of your kids, you got to pay him $4,000 and he'd give you custody. Like, you know, he got caught doing that. Like, so these are like the people that I was locked up with. So it was definitely interesting, like learning their stories and hearing their different things like that. But as far as the chief was mad cool. Like, you know what I mean? He's an Italian dude, and he used to cook all the time. He used to be like one of the dudes that was up there cooking with us. Like, you know what I mean? So I definitely learned a lot about certain things, how to chop garlic the right way, and how to do certain
That's
things.
like the movies. I like the
Word.
Yeah.
Going through the system and having the system learn of your sickle cell, how were you actually treated, and do you feel that there's some kind of conspiracy or it's just business? Like the way that it was being affected by what we eat, whether it's fast food or organic, non-GMO?
I think a lot of it is business, money. You know, they got these companies like Monsanto that make these synthetic soils, synthetic seeds, and to make all these GMO, you know, genetically modified foods. And they do it because the synthetic soil and the synthetic seeds produce a larger crop. You know, you get like triple the size of the crop than using a regular seed. So that just means more money for them, you know what I mean, when they make their orders for the supermarket and whatnot. So a lot of it is money, it's business. They make money off of people selling them this genetically modified stuff, like, you know what I mean? It's like big business. And then you got also, a lot of it is, you know, there's a spiritual element to it too. You know, we're dealing with, you know, God versus devil type of thing. Like, you know what I mean? There's definitely a spiritual element involved with all of this, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of evil involved. They're doing it for evil reasons, and they're doing it for straight, you know, profit.
Your well-being does not factor into that decision, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Good question. Hey, so Kathy, I think that you did a really great job kind of explaining, like, you know, some of the social awareness around the book, and I think that this is a very lighthearted, you know, way to bring attention to like a, you know, a really important social issue. So, you know, Kathy, you got involved with this project and decided to, you know, start down this road. So now that, you know, we've kind of got the ball rolling, what's the next step to, you know, I guess continue bringing awareness to the issue? I mean, so this is the first time I'm hearing at least about, you know, the food issue. I can imagine, like, you know, someone with health problems in the system that's, you know, obviously, you know, somebody that's being, you know, poorly, you know, taken care of, represented, but, you know, but you would think that anybody else in the system, that you were at least giving them, you know, not expired food,
Right.
like you were saying. So now that you've started bringing awareness to it, what is the next step?
Well, the next thing that we're working on is, you know, one thing that Prodigy was really passionate about while he was in there was maintaining his fitness. Because the one thing that's also kind of crazy is when you're outside, well, not outside, outdoor hours, they give you jugs that you only have options of sweetened iced tea and fruit punch, but if you wanted water, you had to go earn your water, right? You had to go fill it up at a fountain. So it's a lot easier to like reach for the fruit punch. So a lot of people would not really want to work out, or they would just be ramped up on sugar. And the one thing that, you know, he had experienced while he was in there, because he has sickle cell, you know, his workouts are longer. The whole idea of just staying healthy, it's not just the food, because obviously the food, while he did the best he could, is not the healthiest thing. So the next thing we discussed about taking it a step further is how to maintain health in prison beyond those parameters. I mean, you can do what you can. This cookbook will provide enough of a framework to go ahead and make the meals, but if you're sitting around all day watching TV or even reading, you know, there's ways to get active, and you know, he has a whole regimen that he wants to put out there of how he maintained health, because it starts with that, but there's also just activity. So I think that's the next thing that we're, you know, trying to put together, is take it a step further.
Yeah, I think that, like, you know, starting with what you eat is like a good first start, like for changing like your whole life. If you want to like improve yourself, like I think starting with what you eat, and then, you know, everything else follows. Because once you start thinking about what you put in your body, your diet, you know, you start thinking about other things too, like your attitude. You start thinking about, like, you know, just other things in the world, people around you. You know, so I think diet is definitely a good first start for anything. Anybody that wants positive change in their life, anything.
I think we have time for one more question before we start signing.
So this question's for all three of you. For Pete, what was the most kind of surprising or unexpected part of this bid? And then for Kathy, writing this, working with Prodigy, what kind of most surprised you? Because obviously you work with a myriad of artists. And then for Angie, reading it, what kind of most surprised you or something unexpected? So for each of you.
The most surprising part of me doing my time away was just probably, because I went in there with the attitude like, you know, I don't want to be cool with nobody, you know what I'm saying? I don't trust these people, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just stick to myself. So the most surprising thing was that I actually did get cool with people. Like, you know, I actually did, you know, have good conversations with people, and we ended up being real cool with each other and learning off each other.
Have any of them hit you afterwards?
Yeah, definitely. Like the chief of police, he came in a couple of my book signings when I first came home, when I put out my autobiography. And a couple of other dudes, you know, we hooked up, we just chilled out, like, you know what I mean? One of my mans was the barber, and he used to cut all our hair. And when I came home, I went and got a haircut from him in the Bronx, you know what I mean, where his shop is at, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the camaraderie element that, you know, I learned while putting this together. Is, you know, you watch TV shows and how they have these interpersonal relationships that go on in prison, and, you know, just these friendships that get forged. But, you know, hearing in real time, hearing Prodigy talk about these stories, and, you know, just some of the cooler aspects, like having little competitions while they're cooking. You know, not everybody wanted to eat his food because he didn't kill it with sodium, and but they because he was always like had health first, so it was just this whole competition. But definitely that element, that human element, the friendships, and just how they put that together, and the story with the mayor when putting together the antipasta during Thanksgiving dinner. The chief of police, sorry, the mayor, the president. Just when Obama was there with Pete. During this Thanksgiving dinner, you know, he told me that when he got all of this food, when the chief brought all this food out there, a lot of the inmates were sitting there crying, and you think about that. It's Thanksgiving, and they're not with their families, and like you had mentioned, that is their family when they're sitting there, and just seeing those people get so upset, realizing what's happening, but then realizing that there is some sort of a support system. That was probably the biggest surprise.
I'm sure it was touching. For me, the interesting thing is I've hosted panels, I've talked to a lot of people about criminal justice reform and what's happening in our prison systems, and I've talked to people who have been in solitary confinement and how awful that whole process is, and I've talked to people who've gotten like way too much time for nonviolent crimes, and heard all these awful, dreadful stories, people trying to get their life together, can't get a job, or, you know, just how we set people up to fail upon throwing them in there and getting them back on the street. Like there's so much wrong with the system, and I've had so many like heartbreaking conversations about that But honestly, in all of the conversations I've ever had, I've never thought about the food. And it's like one piece of it, right? You don't think about that, like, oh, it's the food. But I can't lie, like today, reading some of the stories, you really get a sense of, like she was saying, the camaraderie. But also, like, when we made this recipe today, that was really not good. I had the moment of like, oh, I can't eat that. And I had the luxury of like, pushing it away and ordering me a little salmon salad from the spot downstairs and getting what I wanted. But I did also have that moment of like understanding that this could be my only option to eat all day. And how often that felt awful, just to even have that second of the understanding of that. So that part of it really resonated for me. And I think this is like a different special, like you said, so like a lighthearted kind of way to talk about a really serious problem that has many layers of, things that need to be fixed. So, yeah.
Anybody else got a question? Anybody?
I think we're gonna set up for you to sign some books. So we just take a second to like rearrange and then you guys can line up to get your books signed.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all coming out tonight. If you have a book you'd like to get signed, we ask that you do remain seated.